just a museum, a Prussian blue horizon where foreigners come for honeymoons, our genius demands that we should put our stamp on the molten metal of the New World. So proclaims Gabriele D'Annunzio, Italian poet-soldier in May 1915, prodding his country to war. Who has iron has bread, the watchword of socialist editor Benito Mussolini, first pacifist, then neutralist, now fiery belligerent. Italy, too, has flip-flopped into the war. Mobs sacked the embassy of Austria. Austria, once Italy's partner in the Triple Alliance with Germany. Austria is now the enemy. Italy's government has sold out to the highest bidders, Britain and France. Sacro egoismo, sacred self-interest, the Prime Minister calls it. In Vienna, Austria's emperor finds himself in a three-front war. Russia east, Serbia south, Italy west. Franz Josef had tried in vain to buy off the Italians with border territories. To him, sacro egoismo translates as plunder. Now he must face the new enemy on a terrible alpine battlefield, alone. The Italians will not declare war on feared Germany for a year. It is a tactical nightmare. It will be a war of agony, an agony best remembered in the name of a small Italian town, Caporetto. On the day after Italy declares war on Austria, May 24th, 1915, there is action at sea. The Italian fleet, superior in tonnage, will succeed in keeping the Austrians bottled up in the Adriatic for much of the war. But it is on land that the great struggles are shaping up, on two forbidding fronts. In the Trentino, where the Alps are cut by two broad valleys, the first Austrian movement takes place. The Austrians have brought 4 battle-tried divisions from the Russian front for the attack. They have massed 2,000 new heavy guns and zeroed them in on the Trentino Bulge. The Italians have 2 of their 4 armies guarding the 130-mile line. Their army chief, General Luigi Cadorna, fair strategist, poor tactician, and reckless with human lives, is convinced the mountains are his shield, that the Austrians will not attack. In May 1916, when the spring thaws begin, the beefed-up Austrian army strikes. month, the Italians are pushed back 10 miles. Then the Austrian offensive bogs down under stress. The tortuous supply lines, the abrasion of manpower, the demands of other fronts. 4 divisions must be pulled out and shipped east to meet a new Russian offensive. Behind them, the Italians will come struggling back to their original positions. The casualties: Italian, 145,000. Austrian, 80,000. The net gain, nothing. Southeast of the Trentino is Italy's other front, the 55-mile Isonzo. The Italian objective is the town of Gorizia, opening the door to Trieste, that prize of Italian ambition. A dozen dreadful battles will be fought here, each carrying a numbered name, like a mournful metronome. The first battle of the Isonzo, the second battle of the Isonzo, the third and fourth. The Italians must storm uphill, up mountain, to the Carso Plateau, described as a howling wilderness with stones as sharp as knives, where each shell splinters 1,000 deadly rock fragments. Cadorna, despite his superior numbers, will throw his army away, hammering against the Carso. Agonizingly cold in winter, hot, acrid, and infested with flies, like Gallipoli in the summer. Now it is August 1916, the 6th battle. This time the Italians, smashing, clawing, even tunneling their way up, will break through and get to Gorizia. Get to Gorizia, but here Cadorna hesitates, fearful of Austrian reinforcements, and it is fatal. The door to Trieste slams shut. Soon he will be back where he started, and the metronome will tick on. The 7th battle of the Isonzo, the 8th, the 9th, 10th, 11th. Stalemate, trench warfare, become the stagnant order on the Isonzo. Despair and disillusionment in the prisoner camps. The Austrians are being battered between the Russian front and this frozen hell. Their supplies stretched thin. Trench warfare become the stagnant order on the Isonzo. Despair and disillusionment in the prisoner camps. The Austrians are being battered between the Russian front and this frozen hell. Their supplies stretched thin. Morale on the downgrade. In Vienna, on November 21st, 1916, Emperor Franz Joseph is dead at 86. The monarch who has ruled for 68 years is buried with the medieval rites of a Habsburg, a Capuchin monk imploring admission to heaven for your brother Franz, that miserable sinner. With his death, the Austrians feel leaderless. The new emperor, grandnephew of Franz Joseph, is 29-year-old Karl, amiable but mediocre. His immediate aim is to work for peace and to try to extricate Austria from domination by the Germans, despised by his Italian wife, the Empress Zita. Karl will begin secret but futile negotiations with the Allies, while at home the terrible attrition of war is eating at Austria's soul. Food short, prices beyond reach, apathy and weariness in the streets. And everywhere, the broken men, the ghastly residue of war. Peace feelers also emanate from Rome, from the Vatican, calling for a white peace without annexations, deploring the useless carnage. The Vatican tries for a peace accommodation while maintaining its strict neutrality. The appeal of Pope Benedict XV is criticized in Allied circles and comes to naught. Austria is now a virtual satellite of Germany, and Karl implores the Kaiser for help in Italy. The experience of our 11th Battle of the Isonzo, he says, indicates the 12th will be very hard. My generals believe that it is best to substitute German troops for Austro-Hungarians. Replies the Kaiser, Austria can count on the whole of Germany to attack faithless Italy. The metronome ticks once more. The 12th Battle of the Isonzo. History will remember it as Caporetto. It is October 24th, 1917. In great secrecy, the Germans and Austrians have built up a formidable striking force on the Italian front. The 14th Army of German General Otto von Below, 6 German, 9 Austrian divisions. The enemy jugular vein will be the small alpine market town of Caporetto, a rear area where a shell burst is rare. The plan is to strike at the town, outflanking Italy's Isonzo armies, isolating them, then hit for the plains which lead to the Italian heartland. The attack will begin with a huge barrage, 4 hours of gas shells, then 1 blinding hour of general bombardment. Germans and Austrians punch a 15-mile hole in the Italian center. Storming out of their trenches, they will drive the Italians into headlong retreat. It was, says a military historian, the greatest single disaster of Italian arms in modern history. 700,000 men are thrown back 70 miles into the plain of Lombardy and back to the Piave River, where they will make their stand. King Victor Emmanuel implores his troops, be a single army. All cowardice is treachery. All discord is treachery. General Cadorna will be sacked. The catastrophe is due more to bad leadership than to bad soldiers. Surge ahead, although they are now very short of heavy guns and all kinds of ammunition. So swift has been the advance, the supply lines cannot keep up. On November 10th, 1917, the Austrians reached the Piave, a wide river subject to floods and passable only at bridges. The guns and all kinds of ammunition. So swift has been the advance, the supply lines cannot keep up. On November 10th, 1917, the Austrians reached the Piave, a wide river subject to floods and passable only at bridges. The Austrians will make several attempts to cross it and fail. Italian soldiers, their trenches battered, their antiquated gas masks useless, rush toward the enemy lines, not to attack, but to surrender. In a single day in this battle, Italy loses 305,000 men. Of them, 270,000 surrender. Italian prisoners shout encouragement to their captors. E viva l'Austria! Long live Austria! A Roma! On to Rome! The memories of this bitter front will affect the lives of many men. Wounded while serving with the Italian army, a 19-year-old American volunteer ambulance driver, Ernest Hemingway, will write of it in A Farewell to Arms. A 36-year-old priest and medical corpsman, Angelo Giuseppe Roncalli, later Pope John XXIII, will recoil from it. A 26-year-old German lieutenant, Erwin Rommel, will distinguish himself in it. The Allied aim now is to keep Italy in the war. Late in 1917, 6 French and 5 British divisions are rushed in, along with detachments of Americans. A noted British visitor asks to go to the front. Italy's king refuses. "I want no historic incidents here," he tells the 23-year-old Prince of Wales. One who will see action here is a 35-year-old American flyer, Captain Fiorella LaGuardia. At the front, after the winter lull, after a last-gasp Austrian spring offensive has been repelled, the Italians are getting ready for the final decisive push. Fire is splintering. The German divisions have been pulled back to the Western Front. Rather than a great battle, this last offensive in Italy in October 1918 becomes little more than the pursuit of a beaten army. An army ready to sue for peace. Italy's ambition, its sacro egoismo, is about to be satisfied. At sea, another death blow. A 42-foot Italian motorboat throws 2 torpedoes at Austria's newest battleship. On her sister ship, the Tegethoff, the band plays the imperial hymn as the Saint Stefan, like the ponderous Austro-Hungarian Empire, founders and slips into oblivion.